Hey guys, Robert and Ingrid here, and boy, do we have an interesting topic to go on about. We've
Oh boy, oh boy.
Ingrid and I have talked about sub versus dubs for a while, and we're both in relative agreement on this. Is that dubbing is just as valid as anything else? And we agree
Mm-hmm.
to that because
Very much so.
when people are just always looking at English dubbing, and yet do they ever complain about American stuff being dubbed in other languages? Do they?
I mean, it's not necessarily something that's in their purview, so I think it's just the kind of thing where they don't really think about it since they're not the target audience of that kind of thing.
Yeah. Now, let's be honest. Are there some animes that go a little overboard with how they translate things? Oh yes. There's no question
Hmm.
about that. Can we agree to that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there are always going to be things within a certain category that are bad that shouldn't invalidate the practice of the whole.
Yeah, but
And
recently,
usually in situations like that, you generally have the worst of one category getting judged against the best of
mhm,
another. So it's not a fair comparison. I'm sure that there's a lot of like cringy Japanese dubs that we just don't know that they're cringy because they don't know the language well enough to know
yeah,
that it's bad.
yeah, exactly. Well, recently, there was this one contributor on IMDb. Now, IMDb has changed it now, where there's now going to be they made a separate category. There's now an English dub category or dubbing category compared to, and the main actors. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, that's a perfectly fine distinction to make because it's like, yeah, this started in this original language and these are the people doing things in the other languages. That's something that's genuinely got a reason to exist just for being able to sort out who did what.
But not long after that happened, one guy who is a contributor decided to go in and sabotage and vandalize things. Why and how? He would go in and start removing people's credits and just file removing them, saying like, "Well, you're not the English and you're not the main actor. That's the Japanese. Screw you guys." And then, but he would he move them around? No, he couldn't be bothered. And you have a lot of people saying he doesn't have to. He's doing the right thing by removing it. When it's like, this just happened in November.
Hmm.
My concern is that the cast is correct. Those interested in adding the voice actors to the correct category should be the voice actors themselves. Not all of them have accounts.
And not all of them are busy have the time to even do such a thing, even if they did. They're
Especially close to the holidays.
Yeah! Like, can you really expect people who are spending time with their families and their loved ones to be trolling wiki vandals?
Exactly. And like, it's wonderful. Now, when someone wants to see, basically, this guy's just going on and on about how he did a good thing. It's actually diabolical when you add the credits back to the wrong category again. When it's like, IMDb was in the middle of doing it themselves slowly, but they were doing that. You idiot! Don't be
Mm-hmm.
blaming me. And they even emailed these people saying, "Don't have to worry about it. We're going to be moving it." But for this guy, wasn't fast enough. Delete, 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 delete.
Yeah, it's like my house isn't fully organized during the spring clean yet, so I'm just gonna throw my stuff out for the trash to get picked up.
Exactly. And basically, and of course, the worst part is, of course, IMDb is very notorious for being difficult to remove fake, false credits, but they're perfectly fine with this.
Hmm.
Yeah, and he's like, I'm one of the people doing this. This happened because since November, there's been a specific category. But basically, this guy's saying he hates dubs. He's a sub-only person.
Hmm.
So he thinks he's doing the greater good. And that there are people who are defending this guy, who are basically saying, like,
Uh,
and you know what the dumbest one I saw was, oh, people who are hating subs just hate to read or don't know how to read. I showed you that, remember?
oh yeah, and it's just like that's objectively a different experience of the media than being able to hear it in your own native language. Like, I know a lot of people like to put on stuff in the background while they clean and such, and that makes it unable to do stuff like that. Or, hey, maybe some people are more impaired with their sight or whatever, and hearing is just legitimately the better way to go about it. And a million other different reasons.
Yeah, and again, it's going back to this whole stupid. Let's just talk about this whole sub versus dub. It's really gone out of hand lately to the point where you have people who are now defending AI, saying good, replace the right and the sub and the dubbers. Really?
Really? Like, it's a piece of art. You'd at least want humans to be able to interpret that. And machine translation is notoriously bad. There are so many memes for years about how machine translation is bad, where it's like you put a recipe through like Google Translate 100 times and it comes back looking like gibberish. You really think that's going to give you the full spirit of something? And like, just because some localization is bad doesn't mean that localization as a process is something that should be jettisoned. It has a legitimate right to exist. It sort of feels like I care more about consumption than I do about like preserving legitimate culture. And that's translating stuff into a lot of different languages is how you do that.
Now, thankfully, it's like people like Nava have been trying to get us fixed. Thankfully,
as they should.
Because again, the problem is the fact is people who are defending this guy are basically saying, "Good, they should be removed. They should not even be part of the industry. That's not your call to make, you idiot." And then
it's like that's just your opinion. Legitimately, that's what I feel like I could say to all of this. This is just your opinion about how creative works should be expressed to other people, trying to be imposed upon other people. And it's like, it's already hard enough for these folks to find work in a place where AI is legitimately threatening their jobs. And this is one of those places where I really don't think that you can replace humans with artistic work, or whether you could, but you really should not. And it's like,
I still remember
hard enough for these folks, and you're just making it even harder.
Can I tell you one idiot I still will never forget is there was this one idiot who, after Kevin Conroy passed away, was saying, "Good, now we can replace him with the superior Japanese voice." Kevin Batman Conroy.
I'm sorry. What the fuck?
I know, right? That's exactly what the guy did. When he died, and people turned on him, but he's all like, "Oh, see, no." And this was a guy who was so pro-Japanese, but he's saying everything should be Japanese. Everything should be Japanese. It is superior voice acting.
Like, do you even know enough Japanese to understand the difference between the quality of Japanese versus English voice acting? Because this sort of comes off as toxic weeb shit to me. Like, I believe that Japan is the best just on principle, not necessarily because of, like, other things. And it's a very myopic view. It's just like, hey, superior for what reason? Like, there are cases where, hey, I can understand if something is culturally inspired by Japan, then yeah, having Japanese voice actors would probably legitimately be the better choice in terms of expressing the general cultural intent. But what if the particular cultural inspiration is Russian or Polish or German or Latvian or whatever country? Somebody from those places would probably be the best pick in most cases. This is just extremely myopic.
Yeah, and here's the other thing people like to complain about. Oh, people like to ruin the Japanese, translation. Here's the thing: not everything translates well.
Japanese is notorious to translate between English because they're structured so radically differently. I mean, even just from the fact that kanji, a system that they imported to kind of be part of their writing system when they were trying to integrate more with China in the past, notoriously doesn't map onto Japanese very well, and that's why we have stuff like hiragana and katakana. Like, And if
Yeah,
this is telling you anything, I have actually done some study in Japanese, and I am able to sometimes understand anime even without the subtitles. Like, I'm not a fluent speaker
yep,
or anything, but I actually have enough understanding to at least be able to appreciate cases where, oh, hey, they use this specific pronoun for this character in order to indicate that this gal is like brash and tomboyish or whatever. It's like, yeah, English doesn't really have that kind of nuance, so maybe that's better translated by giving them a certain like accent or something to convey the
yeah,
same general idea to a different cultural context.
exactly. And once again, it's like it's the like I'm trying to think of a good example about this, but there's like again some like remember when you and I went over Pluto and we said how incredible of a dub that was,
Mm-hmm.
and that translates things pretty dang well. Now, let's be honest, there are some toy stuff like Pokemon calling a rice ball a donut.
But like that was when anime was still being new to being localized to the US. Like I can forgive a couple of cringy translations like that because they legitimately did not know if there was going to be a market for this kind of thing yet. So they largely played things safe. And I mean, in retrospect, it wasn't intended to be funny, but it's kind of like funny and nostalgic in its own weird way. Like,
Yeah,
hey, this is like the macaroni drawing on the fridge equivalent of anime dubbing kind of thing, where it's not the best thing you've ever seen, but there's a certain charm about it.
exactly. Now, again, going back to what we said earlier, are there cases of some people who are working on the dubbing who act like I'm going to improve it? Yes, unfortunately. Are they the majority? No.
Not in the slightest.
And are many of them uber cringe? Oh, yes. Yes, they are. Like when they try to slip in stuff, again, like, oh, the patriarchy and all that, when it had nothing to do with the character at all. Or they
Hmm.
try to slip in Gamergate. Remember that?
Hmm. Of course, there are many places where they are sort of the opposite tack, where they can't recognize the social commentary that's happening about Japan because they're not familiar with the cultural context.
Exactly, exactly. And it's just like, so are there gays like that? Yes. But again, are they the majority? No. And I'll just say this, are there some cases of some dubs coming off very stilted and everything? Yes. But a lot of that's also because you have a lot of the Japanese studios are being way more controlling and making them be that more stilted.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're getting what you wanted, but now you're complaining about it even further.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I miss the days when it could be the animes could be they were done by people who appreciated anime, would try and be respectful to what came, but at the same time make it their own.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it either, Tevya. I don't get it either. But again, this IMDB thing was like the peak of the idiocy. Can we agree to that? Where just because they made a new category, they felt like, okay, delete. And again, the fact that people were defending him saying it's not his place to change it. Like these people should have changed it. It's like it literally just changed. If this was done a year ago and no one fixed it since then, maybe you have a case. When it was within a month.
Like, it takes me more than a month to just clean out my own damn house or organize my own damn files, not a massive, like, website that has media that's, like, spanned well over a century. That's not gonna be changed in 3 seconds.
And again, what bothered me the most is just the people who were defending this, who act like this is a nothing but good. Like seriously, let me find another example. One that I shared with you before. Hold on. Hold on.
Yeah, and I think people forget just how much the impact directing can have on a lot of the delivery of dubs. Like, you can have a fantastic cast of people who are really good at their jobs, but if they don't get the proper direction, then of course it's going to come out sounding bad. But that's no fault of the actors.
Exactly, exactly. Hold on, I'm just trying to gather them up from our DMs without showing the DMs. Here we go. But here's one that was really stupid. So I guess your logic, and with your logic, fuck people with disabilities who rely on English dubs to be able to enjoy certain media. Unfortunately, yes, because even a legitimate handicap is not a justification for claiming a privilege that nonetheless harms or disrespects other people. How the absolute fuck does non-Japanese VOs harm people? And to that, Freezy, it denies Japanese CUs from receiving their due acknowledgement and respect as being the best suited to bring life to all animation and game characters worldwide.
Toxic weeb! Oh my god!
Exactly.
And I'm like somebody who has a healthy appreciation of Japanese culture and whatnot. Like, I freaking love a lot of Japanese culture, not just anime. I like hearing about the history. I like trying the different kinds of food. Hell, one of my recent discoveries is that there's a style of Japanese watercolor that's like a semi-moist watercolor that's absolutely amazing.
Yep.
That is not this. This is just saying Japan is best without really providing much evidence other than I said so. And like, who is the best for a creative context is extremely, extremely subjective and dependent on circumstance. And you know, this isn't the first place I've seen the kind of idiocy related to, like, hey, this language is superior to this other one, and thus, like, any attempts to translate it are, like, invalid or whatever, because there are actually many places where this kind of logic breaks. For example, Final Fantasy 16. That was originally dubbed in English and then translated to other languages because their particular world in question, Valisthea, had a lot of influence from like European fantasy and Game of Thrones, and so they wanted to be able to capture the vibe in that language first before then doing the other dubs. This argument completely breaks on something like that.
Oh yeah, look at this. You are not the same thing credit voice-wise as the original VA, nor should you be. It's like, or the primary VA set the tone, the role. They're the template right out. Other VAs are there to adapt the performance. Some people struggle with reading subtitles. I mean, this simply does not change what I said at all. See what I mean?
Yeah, and then it's like, people aren't just voice actors. Are we forgetting that part? A lot of people who do voice acting work are also really good at acting in other areas, like movies or theater. Like, more than once, I have ended up discovering somebody as an actor through their voice work, and then discovered they were like an actual serious screen actor only after the fact later. That's my kind of more entertaining myopia. Like, the most recent example I have of this is Billy Zane. I mostly know him as being the voice of Ansem Seeker of Darkness and Kingdom Hearts 1. I completely forgot that he's the guy that played, like, the asshole fiance in Titanic. Like, that went completely over my head, but it's like...
And he's one of the boys in Back to the Future.
Mm-hmm. And also he cameoed in Zoolander, but it's like, these things are not as discreet as a lot of these people are thinking. And especially during the pandemic, you had a lot of like people who kind of only had voice acting to go, dubbing to go off of to maintain their livelihoods.
Look at this. The English dubbing industry has done nothing but vandalize other cultures for their own laughs and ego. If you are dubbing a work from another country written in another language, then it is indeed different from the original VAs of the same language as the other works. You are like the Uncle Tom of voice acting. Oh boy. All right, get a look at
I'm
this.
not sure he knows what all of those words mean at this point.
Look at this. I regret it, but Americans think the world revolves around them and the rest of the world needs to entirely fix the mess they make. What? Again, they
I'm
assume.
not gonna be. There are definitely some people who are cringy and expecting people to speak English in like Mexico or something, where it's just like, that isn't the native language there, right? You're aware of this, right? But this is absolutely not that. If anything, being able to have certain cultural things cross borders and get translated people is what brings people together and what lets people enjoy things that they wouldn't have otherwise been able to enjoy. Like, what are we really saying here?
Mm-hmm. And not that though, there's also the fact that oh yeah, Lance Reddick did voice acting, so did Keith David, yes. But here's something else to point out. This guy also deleted some video games as well, video game English dub that were the primary, but because there was a Japanese one, he was pushing the Japanese as the original.
Yup, like I said, something like Final Fantasy 16 would absolutely fall under that, where even though it was made by a Japanese studio, it was dubbed in English first, so the English is the primary dub. Like this logic just doesn't work.
The Resident Evil remakes, or any of the recent Resident Evil games, have been English first, Japanese second. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, that is exceptionally stupid.
Yeah, definitely. And then, well, I agree with them needing specific credits. The modification was in compliance of IMDB rules. All that. My biggest concern is that he didn't just reorganize or move the submissions. He outright deleted people's work, moving credits to the correct spot. Everyone agrees.
Oh yeah, Ted. Yeah, I freaking love the Persona series. In fact, I actually have 2 signed prints from Persona 5 from Kawakami and then Ryuichi's voice actor hanging up above my desk right now.
Exactly.
So it's like, I put my money where my mouth is in supporting voice actors. I've spent a lot on this. It matters a lot to me.
Yeah, but again, the biggest problem throughout all of this, again, if this guy simply moved on to the proper category, no one would be arguing. The fact this guy's used this as justification to just flat out delete or bumping these people to other cast, other crew.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. That is beyond hostile.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That's the biggest thing, is when there's so many people who are just being hostile about it. Because that's what I would call hostile. And again, you don't see any of these people complaining about how the other languages are doing stuff that are American. They don't care. But
yeah.
God forbid.
Like, you don't think that they have these same exact sub versus dubs debates over in Japan? They absolutely do. Like, I saw a funny tweet the other day where they were talking about if it was better to watch King of the Hill subbed or dubbed, which sounds absolutely insane to some degree, but it's like, hey, there were some people arguing there that, hey, you might want to watch this in English because it might give you an idea of, like, what life is like in the American South. But they weren't saying that, like, you can only listen to this in English. It's just, hey, if you want to be more immersed in another culture, then there's your option. And that's absolutely a valid argument for sub versus dub if you want to use it to have a more immersive cultural experience. But again, it's the focus on the experience that matters here, and that is far from an objective thing.
And here's another one. Here's another example. You know what? Another case I saw people bring up about Thomas the Tank Engine. Yeah, and did you know that actually had in Japan, instead of America, where you for at least the first 12 or so seasons, it was all just like whoever was the narrator did all the voices. No. In Japan, they each did the individual characters, different actors for different characters.
Ooh!
They did that before the English version caught up to it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, would you say that was the superior Some could say maybe, others would say, nah, not really. But again, that's a case where you don't see many people make a big deal.
Yeah.
What?
Also, I'm just thinking of the hilarious case of ghost stories where they took something that was like relatively bland in the original language and then making it absolutely over the top in the English dub. And like,
I remember one joke.
Hey, go wild.
I remember one joke. Run away, run like you're running away from a black guy. Blah. Well, at least you're gonna say he's racist. I still can't believe they got away with that one.
But it's like, it shows you that this is far from being cut and dry.
Now, granted, there is some controversy, but apparently a lot of the claims that, it bombed over in Japan. The Japanese told them, don't use our scripts. Apparently none of that was true. That was just exaggerated.
Like, I can definitely believe that. But it's like, hey, this didn't have the kind of commercial success we would have originally expected it to. Maybe you could do something better with it over in the States, because there are absolutely a lot of cases where stuff gets appreciated overseas way more in their home than in their home country.
Prime example, Power Rangers Lost Galaxy. That is considered the definitive version of it over the Sentai. To the point where that Power Ranger season got its own Japanese dub. What does that tell you? They actually prefer the Power Rangers version over it. But yeah, it's just this whole stupidity going on. It's infuriating.
It's just treating all of these cultural things in a siloed manner that just doesn't really work in the world that we live in anymore.
And again, now, Tavia, you're bringing up your own opinion on a dub. We're not talking about opinions.
Yeah, it's more just the principle of doing this in general.
Exactly. But, seriously though, it really drives me nuts, how these people have the absolute gall to act like they are the protectors.
Like, it's one thing to have, like, stupid fights about, like, how to interpret a work, but this is crossing the point into genuinely threatening people's livelihoods, and I'm not okay with that. Yep. Like, you can have a dumb opinion on the internet about a piece of media that I like any day of the week, as long as you're not actively harassing people about it.
Yeah, this person, Risa May, put it best. I want to clarify, by sub-purists, I mean the small percentage of people who have a strong dislike towards English-speaking actors working in localization for no reason. For everyone else, I encourage you to enjoy your media, however you like, in whatever language you'd like. Use it for acceptance. But yeah, I agree. It's for the purists who are just so blinded.
I mean, for what it's worth, I'm hearing Risa May's work as Kokomi and Genshin Impact pretty regularly now because I'm using her character on my teams a lot. So she's based, as far as I'm concerned.
Look at 100%. The reason is because over 90% of English dub actors can't act. Oh, spite me!
I'm gonna absolutely call bullshit on that one.
Because I'm sorry, that is beyond.
Yeah, that is just objectively wrong. Like, a lot of creativity is subjective, but if you're gonna say all dub actors are bad, then it's just, I have another thing coming for ya.
Exactly.
Like, you want to know how I know? It's because I have literally gunned for characters in certain games specifically because of their English dub. Specifically because of it. Like, that was one of my main deciding factors, and I know I'm not the only one who does this.
Exactly! By the way, this other person put it bad. Because they think the Awesome Vision is being destroyed for not having a one-to-one translation. Yes!
That's impossible! impossible to do, for the record. You're asking for something that's literally impossible. You can get close, but it is like impossible to have one-to-one translation for anything that exists. It's like, do you even understand how unreasonable of an ask that is?
Let me give you one of my favorite mangas, and it's a case where it was the first of 2 English translations. One, now they had some issues, but for my opinion, it was the superior one compared to the more closer translation. Hold on. Love Hina.
I've heard of that one. Never got around to reading it myself, though.
Yeah, this is the Tokyo Pop version.
Tokyo Pop! I love Tokyo Pop. I read a lot of manga from Tokyo Pop as a kid, particularly Tokyo Mew Mew.
Now, here's something people have to realize. This was coming out as the manga was coming out. So there was eventually a point where there was a whole thing about setting up the Totowa U, or Tokyo University. The whole notion of, if 2 people who fall and who really love each other go to Tokyo U together, they'll end up happily ever after. It was supposed to be go to Totowa U together, which at the beginning didn't matter. It wasn't until towards the end that it became an issue, but they had no idea. Not when they started it, so they thought they were just doing the straight adaptation. But yeah, now, Grant, are there some data reference like Star Wars Episode 1? Yes. But it has a much better flow to it. Are there a lot of errors? Yes. But compared to there's a more straighter adaptation that, unfortunately, if you ever look up scans online, it's that version, unfortunately. And most people agree, it is dry.
It's just objectively easier to do something when you have the full context for what that thing is supposed to be. And oftentimes, dubs can often do that since they're often doing it after the fact.
Yep. In fact, here's what it is. Subbing versus dubbing. Now, I'll tell you, the dub for Love Hina is, even though they have an all-star cast, it is pretty bad because, unfortunately, the original Japanese director got really involved. The producers were control freaks. Here's what it said. The manga has 2 complete English translations, each with its own positive and negative. The Tokyo Pop translation has a natural flow, but suffers from severe lack of proofreading, volumes 2 to 5 and 9 in particular, as well as a lost in translation issue near the end due to adapting a term early on that later on turned out to be a plot-important multi-level pun. Which then says, for context, Tokyo University is consistently mentioned in the original as Todai, a shortened form of his name in Japanese, Tokyo Dai Gaku. But in this translation, the terminology used was Tokyo U. The Kodansha translation by the Nibley sisters has much better editing, but it's rather literalist and tends to come off stilted as a result. See what I mean?
Yeah, because it's like, oftentimes there's the context between how words are used, and Japanese is notorious for this because it's a very context-dependent language. Like, a lot of the times, only the subject gets mentioned initially, and then you have everything implied after the fact. It's to the point where if you need to go use the restroom in Japan, you can just ask "otearai wa," and they'll go ahead and get it for you, since, hey, toilet.
Yep, it's like what happened. Remember when we were watching the Godzilla movies? How many times did they ever bring up a character's name besides beyond once?
They didn't really, which made it hard to keep track of for an English listener, but that wouldn't have been a problem for the original Japanese audience, because it's like, hey, we said this character's name once, there's no need to waste space on saying it again since you already know what it is. But that's not better or worse, that's just a cultural and language difference.
But then later dubbed, like the high side, they would mention the names a lot more frequently. And that was the case where we remember stuff like Mickey and all that. Which for us, that is a better thing. Sometimes you do need to do that. Because otherwise, now I'm not saying all Japanese look alike. I'm not saying that. But it's easy to forget who's who when you only hear the name once. Would you agree with that? Like, that's kind of how our brains are wired.
Yeah, and I'm fairly certain that somebody who's like a native Japanese person would probably be able to see a lot more difference between the appearance of those people than I, as an American, would. That's a case where there's a legitimate cultural difference where it works in this context, but when translating to another context, there are some affordances that need to be made.
Exactly.
Like, that's just a case of like general exposure.
Yep. Or
Like,
then you also have here's something else. What about some of the Japanese creators, the mangakas and all that, who actually say they prefer the English dub, like Cowboy Bebop?
mm-hmm.
The fact you have some of these sub people who who just totally disregard what the creators say.
Mm-hmm. And then I think there are some cases where it's dubbed in English and then no other language. Like, I think a lot of the From Software games work like that, where it's just an English dub and then you have the subtitles for everybody else.
Exactly. But these people act like, nope, if it's from Japan, it has to be Japanese.
It's like, not even the Japanese all think that. Where are you getting this from?
They're purists. They are purists.
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, are we saying, we're not saying all sub people prefer subs, like you, Taleb. We're not saying someone like you are that bad. We're talking about the idiots. We're talking about the idiots.
Like, it's like, if that's your preference, then that's fine. Enjoy it. We're all here to enjoy things. It's just, this is a case where they're policing up what other people are doing for basically ideological grounds. It's not really grounded in a whole lot of real life evidence. Or
exactly.
If it is, it's extremely myopic and ignores a lot of the wider context of creative work.
Yep. And again, look at this. Follow the rules and you don't get removed. It's that simple. You aren't the original cast. For some of the video games, yes, I was. Plus, you have no horse in this race. So you did put some others in the wrong place. See what I mean here? And then other people point out, it only existed since November 2025. He started deleting works before November 2025, before the category existed. Exactly. That was the big problem here. Well, look at this, how everyone just kept showing. Look at all these people. Look at this, how they're just like, look, he was completely justified. And say my credit was taken out of malice and bad
You know
faith.
what? A broken clock is right twice a day, too.
Yep.
You have to look at the general body of evidence that rather than looking at the couple of ones that agree with what you think.
Talayam, just because there are some doesn't make them the majority. All right. Yes.
And you have to have a fair comparison between the quality of the general work in one area versus the quality of the general work in another. Not just comparing the best examples of the thing you like with the worst examples of the thing you don't, which we're all prone to do as humans. I'm not saying that I'm superior. It's just a cognitive bias that exists.
Exactly.
And it's not being examined here.
Exactly. And I love this person. And the sad part is, trying to erase dubs isn't going to make Japan and the seiyus love these people. It's not.
If anything, they're probably going to be embarrassed with them because this is absolutely the wrong way to go about promoting their work.
That's the thing. These people act like, oh, we are protecting and shielding our senpais. Our CEOs. No, CEOs is Japanese for voice acting, right?
Yep. Seiyu,
right. But, oh yeah, so exactly. But in their minds, never about the love for the seiyus. Because if a sub, I'm not going there, goes out of their way to do stuff like this, it's all for the weeb points. Agreed. That's what I feel. So many of these people are doing it for weeb points.
Yes, that's why I keep calling them toxic weebs, because if they genuinely respected the cultural and the opinions of the Japanese people in doing them, they would not be embarrassing themselves on the internet like this.
Exactly. They would not.
They're giving them defenses that they never asked for. Just.
And then, of course, the guy deleted his profile not long afterwards. Big shit. What a shock.
Can dish it out, but can't take it. Not not
Or-
surprising in the slightest.
Or that was his plan all along, was to just do it, go, ha ha, love me, bye bye.
It's just like, what kind of life are you living that's the thing that ends up getting you up in the morning? Like, honestly, do you have hobbies? Do you go outside? Do you bake cookies? Do you ride your bike?
To these people, I say, actually go outside and touch grass.
Mm-hmm.
Go out and touch grass, because I'm sorry, these people are absolute morons who are just, again, being gatekeepers.
Yeah, it's like they're probably also not seeing a lot of the folks that probably would have otherwise really liked the hobby and really would have liked seeing stuff in the original Japanese, but are now turned off from it because now they have to get lumped in with these people.
Exactly. And here's the funny thing. Do you remember how back in the day people used to claim, oh, the Dragon Ball sub in Japan, they were cursing like sailors? Because the subs seem to portray it that way. When we really look at it, like, no, they really didn't.
Yeah, that's particularly funny because are you aware of just how little profanity there is in the Japanese language and how much of it is dependent on, like, how formal your speech is? Like, their equivalent of the B word is just, like, something along the lines of, like, an overly direct word. Like,
it's like this. It's like this. People, but then you have the people then justify saying, oh, but because that word is their equivalent of a derogatory, you could put in any derogatory word you want. How is that any different from what dubbers do?
Like, right? In any case, I feel like the way I would translate that, just purely out of context, is to have it basically be a sick burn that's well phrased, because that would honestly be a more direct translation of the intent behind it. Like,
Exactly. But yeah, when you really look at it, like I said, so many of these issues, but you get what I'm saying though, right? Like, if they, like, how is that them being selected? It's like, oh, you can fit in whatever you want because they're trying to defend it. And then it's like, but when the dubs do that, it's a bad thing.
It's not even accurate to the actual Japan. It's accurate to a Japan you imagine in your head, which at that point, you really don't care about Japan itself. You care about your fantasized version of it.
You prefer it to be edgy and, oh yeah, they're just saying like, F you, Kakarot. Well, F you too, Vegeta.
Meanwhile, it might have been Toad come across more. I have come to a battle of wits, but it appears that you are unarmed.
Exactly. These people just really make this hobby so infuriating, don't they?
Yup.
And again, the fact that you have these people who defend it is my biggest problem of all. But yeah, you look at all this, like my understanding and all that. But yeah, you know how these people just post it and then just walk away. If you notice that, they just post this thing and then they don't even reply to some people. Some do, but then like this, like from the whisper I've gathered, malice seems of a stretch. Yeah, VA clamors a vendetta. Possible, sure, but evidence lurks absent for now. Really? Really? And then look at this. Yeah, someone says, Frankie, like if he should have just, he was concerned about proper categorization, he should have done it. But again, yeah, the fact that they blame America for making a mess of things. Again, yet do they complain about how Japan handles any English translation or any Japanese translation? Nope, they don't care. Because for them, Japan's the superior language. Which I even say is, again, here's something I gotta say. I would rather watch the animation, be able to listen to it, rather than miss everything because I'm too busy reading the subtitles. I I hate that. That's one thing why I cannot stand it. I know I can accept in some regards, like they're translating Elvish.
Yeah, or like they're using a foreign language within the context of the dub itself. Like, not everyone's gonna know French or German.
Exactly. That I don't mind. Which is why I will admit, I do not like it when some dubs just make everyone speak English, period.
Because in some cases, that really is immersion breaking, where it's just like, you really think that the Mongolians are gonna be speaking English here? Come on!
I will say this. I did like in the original Sailor Moon dub. They had it be, because they were speaking English, you know what they, and now in the episode that was supposed to be about Japanese people talking to someone who's speaking English, you know they had to be French.
Which makes perfect sense in the context, because it's like, we're talking to somebody that knows a different language.
Exactly. Which, yeah, I like that. That's a good way of dancing around it, but it's also being respectful. That's the big thing in it, being respectful.
And it's like, there's a really good cultural exchange that's been going on between Japan and America for a long time, and there's a lot of influence from both sides, and yet they kind of want things to go back to more of an isolationist mentality. Are we forgetting that samurai and cowboys are basically the same thing, just separated over space instead of time? We wouldn't have stuff like that if that cultural exchange did not exist. And this is one of those things where, yeah, the sub with dub things is kind of silly and ridiculous, but it's the underlying principle of siloing off culture that's been flowing freely and done a lot of good in the process of flowing freely. That's extremely concerning.
Exactly. And let me also point this out. Going back to a different but similar subject, people who would say, oh, look, manga's beating out American comics. Here's the thing people forget. We're starting to reach that point where we're ending a lot of generations of mangas because the mangakas are finally reaching their end. And now, it's like, we've already had Death Note ended. One Piece is coming down to its ending. My Hero Academia has ended. Have you seen many still in the place yet? Not really.
It's more like, hey, this is something that people liked at this moment, but hey, maybe people will like something else later. Maybe people will end up discovering this thing way down the line. You can't really assess the value and artistic impact of a piece of work in the immediate moment. A lot of the stuff we enjoy is stuff that basically got no airtime or no eyeballs on it while the artist was alive. So how could we really be able to assess stuff like that while it's still so relatively new in its existence?
And here's the other thing as well. You also have the fact that I had it. Well, yeah. Now here's something else to point out. You remember ADV dubbing back in the 2000s? They did a lot of very obscure anime. They would get the rights, but you know what ended up biting them in the butt? These were obscure animes that they were putting more money into making these dubs and getting the rights, but without actually getting much of a return. That was the issue. You didn't have that many people who actually, like, yes, you had all the otakus who wanted to see this English now. But unfortunately, though, that's a niche within a niche. And you're basically putting more money into making these dubs than you are going to be receiving out of it. That's dedication, but bad business sense. You have to really get lucky for that. But yeah, ADV was putting out a lot of, like I said, obscure dubs of animes that people were begging for, and they thought people would come clamoring. They did, but it wasn't enough to make back the money. But yeah, it's like you have I mean, nowadays you have some stuff like your Puella Madoka Magicas, which cannot wait for that new movie.
Oh yes, it's been so long.
To finally get a proper resolution.
Yeah.
I mean, because what he did, we had a proper resolution. Then he did that movie that completely threw it out the window.
Hopefully we'll have a case where it's like where Rebellion is kind of like the middle child of the trilogy syndrome. But
Yeah,
we'll see.
I'm sorry, I did not like how Rebellion went.
I
It's
kind
not,
of see the arguments on both sides here, but yeah, it's just.
well, but if it wasn't for the fact, it's not as bad now that we're having the new one coming out. But if it had ended there, that would have been atrocious.
Mm-hmm.
Can we agree to that? It was
Yeah,
worse.
I feel like the fairest way you could put this is that the original Madoka anime run was a deconstruction of the magical girl genre, whereas the Rebellion movie is more of a deconstruction of Homura herself.
Exactly. But I also just didn't like how, again, it's just like it decided to do everything it could to undo the happy ending. Like, really? Really? Tevya, just look it up. Madoka Magica. Look it up.
Mm-hmm.
It is twisted. And that's the funny thing is when you think it is. Look at how many animes out there that do these really dark subversion. Like School Days.
You
know about that infamous ending, right?
I think this is one place where I've been under a rock, fortunately.
You want to know?
Do I want to know? That's the real question.
Okay, first of all, it's based off of a visual novel game, and let's just say it takes one of the twisted endings. Do you want to know?
I might regret this, but sure, go ahead and tell me.
Okay, goes with the ending, which one of the love interests is claiming she's pregnant. And then another love interest then confronts her. Then we cut to later where she's that other love interest is meeting up with the main guy who doesn't care about any of the girls, let's be honest. She gives him a bag, and turns out there's the head of the girl that's claiming she was pregnant. And then we rewind to earlier, the girl stabbed and cut her open, said, "Oh, what do you know? There's no baby." One of those type of twisted endings. It's the ending what you would get if you're trying to have every girl. It's the one where you're saying, "Oh, trying to have a harem, huh? Screw you."
Persona 5 kind of does a funnier version of this, where if you try to date all of the gals you can have a social link with, they'll all show up on Valentine's Day and basically walk out on you.
Reminds me of Witcher 3, where you're trying to romance the two love interests, and then what do? They end up chaining you, handcuffing you, and they start kissing each other.
I mean, fair enough! If you officially have something to bond over, aka the guy who was leading both of you on. Like, yeah. That is funny and legitimately makes sense in context.
Yep. Oh, and then there's, of course, Martial Hearts. That was, oh boy, that's an anime that first tried to act like a traditional, those beat 'em up animes where, their clothes are exploding and tits are bouncing all over the place. And the final episode, it just tosses it all out the window and says, "Oh yeah, all those girls you defeated, they've been brainwashed and put into sex slavery, and it's all because of revenge scheme to go after the main character, who turns out their parents are complete evil scumbags, and we're trying to do everything to just ruin your life." Like, and basically it's guilt shaming you for enjoying that type of anime. And this is not an English sub. This was the anime itself doing that. Talk about something that you would expect an American animation to do potshot. You would not expect a Japanese anime to go that righteous. But you have it right there. Showing that even the Japanese can be uber political and tell you to screw off. Right?
Yeah. It's just... Sorry, I was trying to gather my thoughts a bit there after that description.
I'm sorry, but yeah, again, two twisted animes. Twisted, dark, morbid, screw you viewers endings. But these are the actual animes. It's not like the dub changed anything. Would you agree? That's the twisted part, right? I'm just bringing it up as cases of showing that even the Japanese can do stuff that can give the middle finger that people claim the Americans are doing.
It's like, this is a human problem. This is a human thing, not really confined to one individual culture. It's just different cultures end up expressing the same thing differently. But there's
Exactly.
not really much of a good awareness of either self or of culture, so it's really easy to just blame the things that you don't like on other things you don't like rather than taking a wide view of things. And again, that's a human bias problem. We all do that to some degree. It's just that some of us are more aware of that's something that happens.
Yep. And yeah, Tiffy, Attack on Titan had a dark ending, but let's be honest, that's more of a case of really the creator went that far, and it felt like the creator just didn't think of a good ending.
Which is an entirely different problem.
That's an entirely different one. Like, look at our issue with the Godzilla anime trilogy. Oh lordy, did we have a problem with that? Because it's one of those endings that just felt so shoehorned. But then we later found out, oh, the creator, the director, was kind of shoehorned to do all this stuff by Toho.
Yeah, whereas he's generally pretty fine just on his own steam.
Look at Gamera.
Oh yeah, Gamera! That was absolutely fantastic. Like, was it perfect? No, but I feel like that's the best we could have gotten for getting Gamera in the modern era.
Exactly, and he's the guy who did Madoka Magica.
Yes, which is also very, very fantastic.
It is. It very much is. So, and I still feel bad that we trashed it, but we didn't know. We just thought
we didn't. We had no idea.
Yeah,
so it's like we get these things wrong sometimes, and we're willing to admit that.
Exactly, because if we were watching it, we thought, oh, this was all his idea. Because as far as we knew, it was. It wasn't until years later when he was talking about Gamera that he revealed, oh yeah, this is what I wanted to do with Godzilla, but Toho wouldn't let me.
Now I want to see what his original vision was, because I'm convinced it would have actually been pretty damn good. But we've lost that out due to a lot of constrictions from the upper sides of things.
I know, and Toho basically said, you got to make this Godzilla the biggest, because they wanted to make sure they had the biggest Godzilla, that America could never outdo it. But then, as we said before, that restricted. You have a Godzilla that stupidly huge, there's not much you can do with it.
That being said, I would have loved if that series ended up going full-on cosmic horror instead of the bullshit that we got.
Yeah, mating with the bug people.
Oh God, I think I'd successfully managed to repress that after years.
Sorry.
It's okay. I've seen weirder shit at this point.
I'm still twisted waiting on the fact that it was the other sister that they were pairing him up with. He ended up banging the other one. It's like, wait, what? But yeah, like I said though, but it just shows that even Japan is not perfect, despite what these weebs think. These weebs.
It's myopia, plain and simple.
Exactly. These weebs really need to get over themselves.
Is this your life? That's really sad, and I don't think that they're aware of that. Just how limited of a perspective on the world they really have, and that honestly makes me feel more bad for them than I am mad at them.
Exactly.
Have you gardened anything? Do you have a pet to take care of? Do you have friends in real life and not just on the internet? Which, I mean, I understand sometimes it's harder to socialize in real life. I can totally get that, but it's have you even tried? Are you okay? The answer is probably no. They probably do need therapy in some stuff, but they also probably think therapy is stupid.
They probably do. And it just makes me groan. It just makes me groan, these idiots. But yeah, I think we've gotten all we wanted to say about this topic out of our system.
More or less, yes.
Yeah, so basically, look, in the end, my stance on English dubs are they have a right to exist. And we should call out the stupidity of songs. Do you agree with that?
I mean, yeah, not all of them are perfect, but when is everything of a thing perfect? How is that exceptional?
Exactly. Now, is it guaranteed we might get a better dub? Not likely, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not every time are we going to get like a Sailor Moon Viz dub compared to the Deke dub. But that was completely, that still took decades to make anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's a case where it's like, you got to let's look at it and accept what you get, is what I say.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I
Don't
mean?
let perfect be the enemy of good. Because if your
Exactly.
people are constantly chasing something that's perfect instead of making something that exists, then a lot of stuff is not going to get made. Like a thing that exists has a lot more value than something that's just an idea in your head.
Exactly. Well, thank you for joining me in this, Ingrid. Thank you, everyone else, for sticking around. And we'll see you guys all on the next one. Take care.